Well, good afternoon, everyone. Steve Murray here, coming to you from a beautiful early fall afternoon in Omaha, Nebraska. Hopefully, you are all having a good day. Thank you for joining us. Wanted to first begin. Today we're going to talk about handling objections. For Our presenter, of course, is the coach Dave Pimper. Dave is the president of Lazarus Coaching. I'll give you just a quick kind of background on Dave so you know with what you're dealing with for sure. So Dave is a producer like you in the field since 1981. He has both securities license at the broker-dealer level. He's a 6, 7, and 20 Series 24. He has a Series 65. Of course, also a licensed life and health producer here in Nebraska and a few other states as well. He's done seminars in front of, I think, probably in excess of about 550 groups now since 1981. That's a lot of seminars per year if you do the calculations on that. He does Retirement Boss Radio, which is a radio show. He also assists some of our producers along the path of radio and seminars, including Social Security claiming, which is one of our most popular seminar topics and has been for about the last 10 or 12 years. So a lot of experience coming at you. Today, he's going to talk specifically, and it kind of goes back to our roots a little bit. When I first met Dave, he was at that time doing practice management coaching, and some of that had to do with how you manage your practice on a global level, but some of it had to do with more detailed dives into specific subjects. And so as we began to do webinars together 12 or 13 years ago, some of the first ones were practice management, and some of the first of those had to do with handling objections. And it's one of those subjects that never gets old and you can always brush up on. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And in the interest of everybody's time, we're going to get right into it. So Dave, why don't we, I gave you a little introduction. There may be something else or whatever you want to add to it. And then let's just dive into how do we handle, what are the best ways, best methods of doing some objection handling?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Steve. And I welcome everybody on our webinar, Focus 2020, 2020 vision. We like that. We like that perfect vision, and we need that for our sales process also. Those are quick hitters. They're about 10 minutes in length. Answer any questions. I offer coaching on handling objections or the sales process in general, or any specific area that you think that you need help in, and you want someone who does it day in and day out, has truly hundreds of appointments, if not thousands a year. Handling that specific sales process is extremely important. So let's go in and talk about handling objections. If you have a question, certainly mark it, and we will go in and we'll be more than happy to answer that question for you. Steve, can I forward those slides myself or not? I hope I can. There we go. Okay, so one of the things you want to do is have a track. And this gal's running on a track. You need to have a proven track to handle objections. You know, if you count to 10, you can count to 10 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's the easy way. But counting to 10 by 1, 7, 2, 4, 10, 5, 8, no. That's very complicated to do. You should be consistent when you set up a track to handle objections or any part of the sales process for that matter. Okay? Now, here's the first thing, and we'll make up an objection on a fixed indexed annuity. Person says, what happens if I need to get to my money because it's all tied up? Now, you probably have already gone through in the presentation that there's a 10% free surrender charge. The ones I use is first year. For you, might be the second year. Who knows? But I will say there is availability for liquidity. It isn't tied up because you can take it out with a surrender charge after the 10% if you want to. But if a person asks that, hey, I'm concerned if I need the money, let's say you just went over that 10% with them, what's the worst thing you could say? That is a stupid question. Why would you ask that? I just covered that. Anyone in their right mind would know that answer. No, that just makes them feel bad. Why do people do business with us? Because they like us first, they trust us second. Way down the list, though important, we have a financial strategy that will meet their needs. Okay? So I call it cushioning the objection. So a person says, you know what happens if I need to get to part of my money? You make them feel good. Hey, that's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of other people have brought that up. I'm glad you did too. That's a lot of good insight. Thank you for bringing that up. Anything like that, you cushion it. The better they feel about them, the better they'll feel about you, the better chance you have of going in with closing the deal. Then you narrow down their concern. So that, and I say to them, so is that kind of, is that what's kind of bothering you right now, or is that probably the main thing, that concern that you have? Because basically what we're saying is you could get stronger, though I normally don't do this. So if you basically are saying, if I answer that concern of yours correctly and you feel good about it, will you put yes on the dotted line? But that of course is too strong. But basically narrow it down. So is that the main concern you have? So we're going to cushion it. Hey, good job. I'm glad you brought that up. Makes them feel good. Secondly, narrow down the concern. From a third standpoint, we isolate the objection. Now I want to go back real quick. Let me go back. I'm going to do this real quick. Narrow down the concern, and then we're going to go on in and isolate the objection. So when we're isolating the objection, we're specifically making sure that we understand what the objection is. So I'll say, can you just tell me a little bit more what concerns you about this? Or you'll say, I'm curious. I love using that language. I'm curious. What concerns you most about the liquidity? What concerns you most about whatever they bring on up? And then they will tell you, you know what? The one thing you don't want to do is just start selling right away. Hey, what if I have to give some of my money? Oh, you know what? We just went over that. Remember you sell. Get them talking. Well, I don't think we'll put the windows in the new house, but I thought we might put new windows in pretty soon. And I'll ask them, how much would those windows cost? This is a true story. It was about $8,300 a few years ago, but about $8,300 to put those windows on the front side of their building. Okay? So I want to know what I'm dealing with. So we isolate the specific concern. Now, I'm big into answering a story, so I'm a big believer that stories are what sell. Facts are what tell. Facts tell. Stories tell. Who's great with facts? Engineers, architects, scientists, doctors. How good of salespeople are those left-brained people? Usually, not always, but usually not very good. Right brain, more emotion, that more feeling. Yeah, so stories are more feeling. So what happens is I'll say, so let me just give you an idea of the liquidity. So I do a lot of a 7-year product with fixed index. So I'll say, so 7 years. So when you put your $100,000 in, Mary, the very first day you can take 10 grand without any kind of penalty. After that, there would be an 8% penalty. So for every 1,000 you take, there would be $80. So we're trying not to ever do that. You have other liquid cash monies. So, but if you needed this money, we could say you have 10,000. The next year, after your anniversary date, so let's say this money goes in October 1. Well, October 1 of next year, you can take out another 10%. Next year, another 10% of the value. Next year, another 10% of the value. So what happens is, over the 7 years time period, give or take of how your investment, the fixed index annuity performs, you could take out probably 50% or even more of your money. So you're putting 100 grand in, and this is what I do. I say, can you see using more? Can you see using more than $50,000 here in the next 7 years? Can you see doing that? Well, what are they going to say? Well, no, I can't see doing that. And so what happens is that I try to take where they're concerned about, am I going to have availability on this? Or I make it sound easier, more money available, not just 10%. What sounds more? 10,000 sounds a heck of a lot more than 10%, and 50,000 sounds a lot more than both of those. It's just like I used to go door to door within the insurance business selling a safe driver's policy, $58 a day. What did I say? I just kind of did it in reverse. I said, you know what, folks, for $58 a year, that breaks down to 16 cents a day, or basically a cup of coffee. Well, you can tell how long it's been since I'm in the business. Because I guess a Starbucks coffee now, a latte is maybe $5-6. But for a cup of coffee a day, you can have this kind of protection. So I just make a small thing look much bigger. And what happens here is, with that scenario, with the door-to-door policy, I made a bigger deal seem much, much smaller to them. So that's what I do. I answer it with the story. Then I'll say, do you think that you'd need to get to $50,000 of your money, half of your money, in the next 7 years? So it almost sounds like you can get it. I don't want to mislead them. You can't get it in 1 year, but over a 7-year time period, you could get $50,000 to $60,000, depending on how much your principal grows or the 10% takes it down. So I'm a very, very, very big in with answering with a story. I think that's key. Okay. Now, handling stalls is similar, but what's the difference between an objection and a stall? Well, a stall is, the main kind of stall I come across is, I got to think about it. I got to think about it. I worked in the South for a while. Down there was, I got to pray about it. But I've got to think about it. I'd rather have them just tell me no. And normally stalls are just telling you no. I had one today, 800 and some thousand, and he's got to think about me giving a proposal. I will call him back next week, and I told him that I would, and I made a good case. It was off of a Social Security seminar. In fact, just to let you know, I just had my Social Security seminar on Tuesday, and the second part of it on Wednesday, yesterday, and I got 16 appointments. And I'll tell you right now, if you're not marketing, you should be. It's red hot out there. People are anxious to get information. We're also coming out. Actually, I'm working on it right now. But next month and on October, November, December, I'm going to do both Social Security, and then I'm testing out a new platform on taxation. And so it'll be a tax seminar. So we'll see how that goes. And actually, we've got a movie in the works too that kind of gears around the retirement marketplace that I'm trying out. So IAMS has got a lot of things that we're working for our clients. But if you're not doing seminars right now, I'm telling you what, or you really don't understand Social Security, that's where a lot of my lead generation is coming in. That's the reason those folks came today, because she's wanted specific questions on her social, but of course it leads into money's that available too. But going back to stalls, say a person says, you know what, Dave, I got to think about it. What's the worst thing you can say? You're not a decision maker, are you? Most people know the answer right. You don't. I'm surprised. That make them feel bad. So you say, no problem. I understand that. But I'm curious. What have I said that concerns you, or is that holding you up? Now, if they aren't truthful with you, you're never going to get the business. But they're truthful with you here. They'll say this like, well, I just heard so many bad things about annuities. And again, how you handle that objection, you don't start selling why annuities are so great. You go and ask them, well, what have you heard? I mean, you got to know what you're confronted with, so you get them talking. Okay, that's real important. Now, from there it goes to the trial close and to the trial questions, and it goes to the close. But we're handling objections in stalls today. But if I use that same format. I comforted at the beginning. Hey, that's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up. Hey, I'm curious. What concerns you most about that? Is that your biggest concern right now? And then answer with the story. If you do it in that order, you can have success, consistent success with handling stalls and objections. My name of firm is Lazarus Coaching. I'm Dave Pimper. I'm in the business for 41 years. I mean, I've kind of perfected, which I think is a great sales process around the financial service products, i.e., fixed index or fixed. You know, it works with my wealth management too, and I show some alternative securities, but it's geared around the fixed indexed and fixed annuity. If you want help on coaching, I do 3 product coachings, not product, but 3 sales process coachings for $600, $200 each. But I'll have people come to me and say, I want to work just on trial closes and closes. I want to work just on stalls. I need to work on my presentation. I mean, this is like going out and getting a lesson. I just had a vendor lunch, and he was saying how he just is trying to get as good as he can at golf. He's a pretty good player, but what does he have? He has a coach. And he was working he's kind of fading, turned into almost a bit of a slice. And he paid this $100 and worked it out on the driving range with him. So I'd love to help you. I'm a peer just like you are. I'm pounding the pavement every single day, trying to pay for those bills, put a little back in retirement, and make your sales process happen. So I'm going to turn this over to Steve Murray, CEO of IAMS, and I saw some questions pop on up, and then we'll end right on time today.
Thanks, Dave. Good stuff. I was just checking. I don't have a poll, correct? The closest one I had was I didn't change it after the last one, which we talked about. What did we talk about? Maybe required minimum distributions or non-hardship withdrawals. So I don't have a poll if you'd like to learn more about objection handling, but I'm going to throw one up here in a second. And if you just keep in mind that what you're agreeing to is if you'd like more assistance on objection handling, put yes. Okay. And let's answer a few questions. So when you started talking about, and I'm going bottom to top here, so you started talking about stalls, and Tony asked, how do you handle I have to talk to my blank? I'm guessing
got to talk to my wife.
Talk to my wife, got to talk to my other financial advisor.
You bet. Well, most of it's how I got to talk to my wife, or got to talk to my husband, got to talk to my wife. That's on you, because in that first appointment, it's very important. And in the second appointment, which I bring up my fact finder, one of my questions there is, I mean, do you make the decision? Does anybody else here, do you have to defer with the decisions? And if they say yes, my wife, I don't have that next appointment unless the wife is there, because you're not gonna get it. So that's on you. That isn't on the client. That isn't on the sales process. That's on you not having a decision maker there. So you always do ask in the fact finder, or sometime in the first or before the closing appointment, does anyone else need to be here as a decision maker to make this decision to transfer the money or to put the money in? That's what you need to do.
You bet.
Yep.
So do you sales process, blah, blah, blah. How many appointments do you have, Dave? What's your sales process? Do you have 1 appointment, 2 appointments? What's your normal process?
3. I have 3 appointments. Unless a person comes on in and just puts on my desk and says, you know what, I got this CD coming due of $100,000. I need to know what to do with it. I mean, it doesn't hardly ever happen that way, Steve. But if it does, I mean, you could take 3 appointments into one. I mean, you could go in and say, let's fact find how much risk. I think it's guaranteed. You want to keep it guaranteed. What kind of return would you be happy with? Oh, if I can make 3%, I'd be happy as a lark. You need a guaranteed principal, right? Yes, I do. Well, and then I might just pull out and take one of the fixed index annuities or fixed annuities and go to it. How often does that happen? Hardly ever. See, like when a person comes into a Social Security appointment, basically we're talking Social Security for the majority of the first appointment. But I do some things. I mean, I do find the money and I commit that money in. And so, but I have a specific first appointment. Second appointment is geared around the fact finder, though I do some other things. And the last one is the proposal and writing up the business. Stephen, because if I have 500,000 come in, I will probably have a minimum of 4 different kind of investments. If they're more conservative, I'll have more fixed indexed. If they're more aggressive, I want to probably still have fixed indexed, but I'll have maybe more of a security nature. So what happens is because each one of those different types of products. Well, just think about it. Think about if you went on in with 500,000 and you were writing up 4 or 5 separate different types of fixed indexed annuity. If someone's saying to you they're brand new and they've never done fixed index, and said, I'm sure that's a lot less paperwork because it's exactly the same thing, just different companies. What do you say to them? Sorry, Charlie.
Sorry, it
You
doesn't work
know,
that
you
way.
you got 2 hours of paperwork. That's right,
Yep.
two hours of paperwork.
Mhm.
Well, that's if it's all filled out.
Yep.
So you might have to, because I don't fill out my own paperwork. My administrators do. So what happens is I do have 3, and sometimes I'll just fill out initial, get the social, make sure address, all that, and I'll go to the 4th, and all the 4th is just paper signing. So it depends on how you do your business, but when you're working with hundreds of thousands, it's pretty. You're not building enough face time if you do a one-stop sell. And I think in today's day and time, people are leery of that. They want to get to know you. So I do normally over 3 sessions.
Hmm. Yeah, they surmised it. He replied back and said, so you meet most of your clients via seminar, via radio. He meets most of his clients via referral or repeat business. So there's probably a little bit of difference in the way your practices work.
Could be a
Yeah.
difference.
Yep.
Yeah. Could
Yep.
be good for him too. I mean, I'm not
Yep.
a good referral person, but he is, and that's great. Boy, I'll tell you, if he has the most of his people coming in from referrals, what would he do with an extra 16 appointments per month?
Absolutely. Yeah. No
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah. That was nice. Yeah.
Yep, it's a good problem to have. Let's see. Let's see if there's any more questions. Oh yeah. So yeah, I'm sorry that poll is confusing. So as I mentioned when before I posted the poll is actually from a previous webinar. So really, if you want more assistance with practice management in general or handling objections, just some general sales and practice management coaching, just put yes on that. That you're not committing to that, of course. Then you're just committing to, hey,
Hey,
maybe I'll
Steve,
spend. Yep.
if you pay the go-to webinar bill on time, you can have as many poll titles
Question.
as you want. Did you know that?
I know. I know. Well, you saw me. I was on that thing. I was like, well, maybe I'll just change it
I
right
know.
now. But I think
Yeah,
I might be
it isn't quite that
technologically
easy.
limited.
It seems like you should be able to. Yeah,
No.
yeah. But this is on handling objections, handling stalls, and you know what? If you're very good in your presentation, I would say nearly 40% will just. There is no questions. Maybe 50%, and you do a substantive close. It's easy. But you know what? The superstars are the ones that get a percentage of that other half. Those are the ones, and I'll tell you right now, whether this is true or not, and I'm sure it's not, because I'm not the best salesperson in the world. I am darn good, but there's billions of people. I'm sure I'm not the number one person, but I will say this. My feeling is when I get done with a client, and if I propose and I don't close it, which happens, I actually feel to myself, and part of this might be of protecting my ego, my sales ego, but I really don't believe anybody could have done a better job than myself on that sales process. And is that 100% true? No, but I just know how I handle things, what I do. If I'm in front of enough people, I'm going to close enough business to do everything that I needed to do, pay my bills, throw a little back in retirement, put some in a savings fund, and have some for recreation with my family. You know what? If I can do that day in and day out, day in and day out, it really does keep the stress. I mean, you know this, Steve. The old adage is in our business, it's incredible that a little bit of commission eases almost all ills.
It does.
And
Yep.
it's true. The
Yep.
better you are in the sales process, the better chance you are to close business and to get the revenue that you're deserved of showing that person hopefully a very good financial strategy.
That's good. Well, I think we've run out of questions. We have a few people that haven't voted yet, so if you want to take a moment and vote while we're closing, that's fine. And and I always say this, and it always generates plenty of no's. But if you feel good about your process, or this doesn't look to be anything that you need additional assistance on, don't be afraid to put no. That's okay. Dave always has plenty of people to talk to for sure, so don't be afraid to put no on there. We like to have a yay or a nay just to know that everybody's with us. So there's a lot of things that we can do here at IAMS to help you, and business coaching, what Dave does there, radio, what Dave does there, seminars, whether it's retiree common mistakes or Social Security
Mm-hmm.
claiming. I think, Dave, you're getting ready to redo your another one that will be tax. Is it taxes in
Yep.
retirement? Is that what you're
Yeah,
going to do?
it's taxes. In fact, yeah, I just picked the title today on it, and it is the 4 stages of tax planning for and in retirement. That's my title.
That's
And
going to
then
be
we
the
talk about
title.
the 4 stages. Yep, that's the title. Yep,
That's as
yep,
long as a presentation. That title.
yep, yep. I tell you what, I'm glad you liked it. I do too.
That's what we call a something close.
Touche, touche. Yeah, yeah, Steve. I'll say something else too. I'm one of the coaches. There's several other coaches, and they coach you on what their expertise is, and that's to get in front of people. Mine is to get in front of people in that sales process. But I will say this. I mean, I don't know because I certainly don't use them all. But between myself, the other coaches, and then with IAMS, just like um, with your government program, and I mean, and you got a lead
Your
generation, you
employees.
got an appointment setting. I mean, I bet IAMS has 10 to 12 proven ways and marketing programs to get in front of qualified prospects. And IAMS is the one thing, and I don't work for IAMS, I coach for IAMS, but the relationship is let's do everything we can for that advisor to be as successful as they can. And we know this is a pretty easy business, but it's not simple. You have to get in front of X amount of qualified prospects, and then you need to close X amount of those prospects. And we have both ends of that covered. But I'll tell you right now, the harder of those two is getting in front of the most people. Even though today was part of the sales process, if you're great at sales and you don't have anybody to sell, you make the same as someone who's terrible at everything. So you have to get in front of people. And Steve, I'll compliment you. You've done a very nice job. I mean, from 1986, Charles Hiring started it. You went with Charles not too long after that, and been with him for 25, 27 years. But you've really kept that producer right at the very head of the class, knowing that's how you make your profit is by the producer being successful. So as long as that's aligned correctly, it's a win-win situation, which I compliment you guys. You guys have done a good job of that.
I appreciate that, Dave. I feel like that was from the heart, and I think we do. We are very producer oriented here. We know who our customer is. A lot of times, the carriers that we do business with think that we're their customer, so sometimes you got to remind them.
Yeah,
The truth of the matter is,
it's like the compliance department with the broker dealer. I don't say this anymore, but I used to say, who pays for your salary?
right. They
And
forget, don't they?
it's the sales force. They
Yep.
do. They
Yep.
they do. So but there's a lot of tools here, and we'd like
Yes.
people to be able
Yep.
to use the tool that can help them succeed in this business.
You bet. And we do have a lot of tools, and Dave has been a great partner for many years, but 13 now, 14 that we've been doing work
Hmm.
together from a coaching standpoint that has benefited very many of our producers over a long number of years. And so Dave's footprint is all over the success of many of our producers. So it's really been a great partnership, all built around, hey, what do we need to do to best serve our customer, which is you. So let us know what we do to help you. That's what we're here for. Many of you have stayed on well past the 20 minutes, and I certainly appreciate that. Dave, I thank you for taking your time as well
You bet.
on a Thursday afternoon. There's really not been since probably early 2008. I don't think there has been a better, more prolific amount of business being done than it's being done right now in the fixed indexed annuity market, in the traditional annuity market. The business is just going great right now because of market upheaval, and interest rates are going up, and it's just people looking for safety and
Well,
guarantees.
well, and Steve, the trouble in the market, absolutely. But the
Hmm.
interest rates up has also put the cap rates in participate. Well, I know cap
Very
rates. I
good.
shouldn't say that because I don't do much participation, but it's very high right now. It's the highest, really. It's the highest. I do a 1 year point-to-point cap. I'm pretty vanilla guy.
Hmm.
And by the way, Steve, do you know what? What do you think? What flavor of ice cream is by far the most common? By far, like 70% of all ice cream is this flavor. What is it?
Vanilla. Vanilla.
That's it. 1 year point-to-point cap, vanilla. I've done that my entire life. And what happens is they're the highest they've ever been. I mean, you can get. I mean, we're getting 8-9% on a 1 year
Mhm.
point-to-point cap. We're almost getting the full average market is averaged around 10% in the last 50 years, and you have a guarantee of principal. If you're not marketing right now, if you're not getting in front of people right now, it's a heyday. I mean, this isn't going to last forever, I'll assure you.
No, we know that the business goes up and down. It's always been since we got in the business many, many years ago, it's been a good business to be in, and mostly because there's so many folks in our country that are hitting the age range where maybe safety becomes a bigger part of their concern than growth or returns. And uh, that's the business that is a good part of what we do. So let us know how we can help you. Appreciate you tuning in today. You got a little extra commentary besides just objection handling. Hope we didn't mind that too much. But whatever we can do to help you here at IAMS, we're primed and ready and willing to do so. You know our number. It's 800-255-5055. Many of you did request additional assistance on objection handling or practice management. So you'll get a call from Brady. He'll set up a time with Dave. And I do promise you it'll be a 15 or 20 minutes that no matter what you decide to utilize or not utilize, I think you'll find beneficial to your business. So thank you again for joining us today. Have a great finish to Thursday and a great finish to your sales week. And we look forward to hearing from you at 800-255-5055.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.